Okay, go ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the March 9th, 2022 Minneapolis Pedestrian Advisory Full Committee meeting. Just to note that this meeting may involve the remote participation by members, either by telephone or other electronic means, due to the local public health emergency pursuant to the provisions of Minnesota Statute Section 13D-021. So hi, everybody, and welcome. And the first thing on the agenda, I believe, as usual, is the roll call.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, Aaron? Abigail?
Here.
Austin?
Here.
Barbara?
Here.
Christopher Hoffer?
Here.
Chris Ross? Harmony? You're on mute, Harmony. Okay, one more time. I gotta hear you. All right, we're gonna come back to you, Harmony, because for some reason I can't hear it. Can you just say hey or anything? I can see you, but it has to be audio. Okay, I'll come back to you. Julia?
Here.
Matthew Steinruck?
Here.
Neil?
Okay, here, here, Harmony's here. Sorry,
Harmony?
technical difficulties.
Yep. Paul? Peter? Raina? Tamir? Carrie? Jordan? Emma?
Hello, here.
Hi. Eric? Tom?
Here. Tom too.
Heidi? Julie?
I'm here.
Yay.
Mackenzie? Ritana? Sonia? And do I call Ben Carrier? Millicent, I'm here. Chris Kartheiser?
I'm here. I think Ben is for the BAC
Yeah.
medicine, just so you know.
Yeah, we've had some shuffling around here. Is anyone here that that would like to be on the roll that I haven't called?
Steve Mahowold, Metro Transit, sitting in for Sonia.
Hello, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, we have 14 present.
Sounds right.
All right. Thanks, Millicent. Next on the agenda, as usual, is the adoption of the agenda and the acceptance of the minutes from the last meeting, February 2nd, as attached to the agenda online. We'll do a roll call vote, Millicent, of voting pack members.
Don't you guys have to like move to accept it?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Barb, to move. Okay, so we'll vote on the minutes as written and attached to the agenda.
Okay, Abigail,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Barb Olson,
Yes. Yes.
Christopher Hoffer,
Yes.
Harmony,
Yes. I think I got it.
Julia,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes. Aye.
Emma. Oh, sorry. I'm done with the voting members. It was
Oh.
8.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have our I&E report. I don't know if Chris or Barb, you're handling this one this time.
I'll do it. I wrote the minutes. I'll read the report.
Great.
That's okay with you, Chris? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Thank
We
you.
had a bunch the last meeting. I think there were 6 presenters at our I&E meeting. The first one was the High Lake intersection. It's a really scary intersection, and they've been doing a lot of work. They did some technical work in the first phase of their approaching this, looking at what they could do, how they could rearrange some of the turns and the entrances onto Hiawatha to make it a little bit safer for cars and also, most importantly, pedestrians, because it's a terrifying place if you're walking there. So they did that as part of phase 1. Phase 2 was public engagement process, prioritizing improvement options. This intersection is a connecting point for 3 diverse neighborhoods, East Phillips, and I'm trying to think if I don't have the names of all of them, but there's 3 neighborhoods that use that intersection. It gets a lot of use, both pedestrian and bicycle and vehicle use. And there's transit lines on that, like it's part of Lake Street, and Hiawatha has transit line as well. They talked about trying to improve it visually. One of the ideas, because they have about 70 square feet at the, I think that's the north end of the intersection, and probably 50 on the south end that are just sort of vacant, and they want to do something with that, possibly put some art, maybe have some of the ideas were bicycle parking, some of the ideas were skateboard park, lots of different things to do. They were just suggesting things. They haven't determined anything yet. The PAC talked about the redesign of the intersection and wanting to make sure that the art was pedestrian, at a pedestrian scale, not giant murals that appeal predominantly to transit and moving vehicles, but something that pedestrians could appreciate. And that was an important thing. The redesign of the intersection is for 2024. So this project will be back to visit with the I&E in April or May of 2022. The PAC asked one important thing: if all the legs of this redesigned intersection could be marked to enhance pedestrian safety. Jason indicated that that had been discussed and that he was going to be included in the design. So that's where we ended with that one. They will be back in a couple months, probably. Any questions on that, or any additions? Anybody that was there that wants to add anything? No, okay. I will move on because this is a long one. 2022 Vision Zero. This is the program that supports the Vision Zero action plan by making cost-effective safety improvements systematically and rapidly in high injury streets. There are 24 city-owned streets identified as high injury streets. In 2022, there is $1.18 million available. Thereafter, in 2023 and beyond, there will be $500,000 available each year for improvements. These improvements intend to fundamentally improve the feel and safety of the corridors. Most improvements will be made with quick build materials like bollards and paint. They will also explore upgrades to curb extensions when possible. Strategies include delineator bump outs, high visibility crosswalks, zebra striking, slow turn wedges, delineator medians, hardened center lines, bike conflict zone striping, rapid flashing beacons, and retro reflective backplates. I'm not sure what that is, but those are some of the ideas. The corridors designed in 2021 to be installed this year are Dowling Avenue North from Penn to 94, Monroe Street Northeast from Broadway to Lowry, 36th Street East from Nicollet to Park, 42nd Street East from Lyndale to Cedar Avenue. The 2022 corridors that will be built either this year or next year, or even perhaps beyond that time, are 31st Street, Nicollet to Cedar, 6th Street, downtown to 2nd Street, Avenue South to Chicago Avenue South, 7th Street to 2nd Avenue to 11th Avenue South, North 2nd Avenue to North Washington, Nicollet Avenue to Lake on 46th, and to Nicollet Avenue to Lake end to 46th. I'm not sure. That's what I wrote down. I'm not sure if that makes sense. East 35th, Fremont Avenue, from Fremont Avenue North to Lowry Avenue to 44th Avenue North, and Lyndale Avenue South and Franklin Avenue West. The PAC asked how this program was funded. This program is funded from the capital budget with some bonding efforts. Funding decreases as designated corridors are addressed. The people working on this, there's only one FTE that gets support from the funding, the 1.18 million for this year. That is one of the engineers. The rest of it is from the general fund. That was the only questions we asked about that. I'm guessing these are ongoing projects and we might be hearing from them again if things change or if they've added new streets to that. The next project was First Avenue South Reconstruction. This was presented by Katie White and Ahmad Omar from Minneapolis Public Works. Minneapolis Public Works Department plans to reconstruct more than 1.5 miles of First Avenue South from Grant Street to East Lake Street. The project includes replacing the bridge over the Greenway and the railroad corridor. The project's goals are to improve safety for all people and modes of traffic and to install a bikeway facility for all ages and abilities, to evaluate opportunities for green storm improvement, plantings, trees, and accommodate property access for residents, businesses, and visitors. This project will prioritize people who walk and bicycle while maintaining safety and effective vehicle operation. The timeline for this project is the concept development in this year, engineering in 2023, and construction in 24 and 25. They'll be returning to the PAC sometime in the future. They didn't specify when they would be coming, but I would guess sometime, maybe even in the late summer. The next project was 26th Avenue North, Olson Park, the Trail Gap. That project's at 0%. It was presented by Tyler Pedersen of Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board and Kimley Horn Design Team with Greg Brown. The goals of this project are to expand recreation, river, and regional trail access for all residents in North Minneapolis and North Minneapolis neighborhoods. The concept development process, which includes data collection, coordination with the railroad that they'll have to deal with, the BNSF Railroad and Continental Cement to access some of their property. That is going on right now and will continue. They will do a geotechnical and structural investigation, a floodway wetland impact analysis, and an experimental design. That's what they said. They really want this trail connection to be a great experience. They would hope to have less than 5% grade side-by-side pedestrian and bicycle paths. They want to minimize the disturbance to the river bluff and repair and re-landscape whenever it is disturbed. They hope to get the pedestrian trail closer to the river while keeping in mind the 100-year flood plan. There will be a public meeting. There was a public meeting. They said there would be, but there was one on February 24th of 2022. And I would guess that there will be more options online to react to this. The second to the last project that came to us was the Beeline BRT Lake Street improvements. This was presented by Yasna Hazik Stanek and Kathleen Mayel from Minneapolis Public Works. The Beeline hopes to serve as a catalyst to improve Lake Street for people. It will be a 12.6 mile service route along Lake Street, Marshall, and Selby Avenue. Current bus service stops about every block or every 2 blocks. One of the things that the BRT line is hoping to do is improve and make the transit on Lake Street faster. So how they're wanting to accomplish that is sort of 3 ways. One is to have fewer stops. So the stops would be about every 3rd mile or every 3 or 4 blocks. And they also want to have pay prior to entrance, like we do for the BRT now for light rail that goes downtown or into St. Paul. So you pay before you get on, either with a card or you pay every time. They want that. And then they want to have a designated transit corridor, especially going west. I think the transit corridor right now is designed to go west So the BRT and Beeline would go west, and then when they returned going east, they would use the street on the other side of the street. There will not be two designated transit lines according to the design as it is. And this is done in conjunction with the Lake Street Improvement Project, which is coordinating with the Beeline and BRT improvements. And that is identified, Lake Street, you know, is identified as a high injury street. This Lake Street has a high pedestrian activity. The street from Blaisdell to Cedar is considered a cultural district. The assets are in good condition. 35W to Hiawatha and Minneapolis is a green zone Lake Street. And of course, there was a lot of unrest in 2020 and thereafter after the murder of George Floyd. This project will be a multi-jurisdictional approach with a shared vision. It will bring together Metro Transit, Hennepin County, Minneapolis, and the MnDOT. Its goals are to improve the corridor's transit speeds and reliability, improve conditions for people walking and crossing Lake Street, and improve safety for all modes of travel. Potential changes include crash and injury reduction, pavement preservation, and ADA accommodations. They requested a resolution which is separate from my minutes. So Christopher, or I know Julia and I and a couple other PAC members edited that, and that so maybe Christopher can read that when I'm done. The last project that was presented was Green Central Safe Routes to School. This is, when I read the statistics about this, it seems like this is a really important Safe Routes to School. Reported crashes near Green Central program are on 11th Avenue, that between 28th and Powderhorn Park. There was one pedestrian crash with injuries and 3 bicycle crashes. 3/4 of those had injuries. There were 5 bicycle crashes. Let me go, I missed the street. On 10th Avenue between 28th and 34th, there were 13 pedestrian crashes with 100% injuries and 5 bicycle crashes with 80% injuries. On those 2 stretches, there were 186 motor vehicle crashes, 35% had injuries. 34th Street, 31st Street, Lake Street, Portland Park are also really challenging streets, and the area around that school have kids walking across those corridors as well. So this is really an important Safe Routes to School project, in my opinion. And I don't know that they'll be coming back. I don't recall that, so I don't have that in my notes. But if anybody else remembers whether or not they'll be coming back, you can add it right now. But I don't recall that. Christopher, do you recall if they said they'd be coming back?
I don't specifically.
Yeah, me neither. So, but it seems to me a very important Safe Routes to School. This is a really challenging area for kids that are walking. And they said that about, I think the last note I have is that most of the kids, 25% of the Green Central School students walk to school. Of those kids, 50% are children of color. So that's my report. I know it was fast, but it was a lot. So hopefully you got all that.
Oh, boy.
Thanks, Barb.
Sure.
So we'll read the resolution now for the B and BRT project line.
Sure, I'll read that, Barb, as you requested, if you wish me to.
Yeah, because I can't see it up on the screen.
Okay. The Pedestrian Advisory Committee supports the Beeline BRT project on the Lake Street corridor. We are pleased to see the addition of a designated transit line, proposed shorter wait times, and faster travel times for this project. We appreciate several aspects in particular. Curb extensions that allow transit to maintain its space on the roadway, meaning more safety when boarding riders, and prepaid fare to help speed up travel time, and the inclusion of ticket machines at stations. We urge Metro Transit to ensure that the ticket purchasing process is upgraded and streamlined for all users, regardless of the fare they need, with special attention to elderly riders and those who are paying for multiple fares in one transaction. Within the Lake Street improvements that are being coordinated with the BRT project to improve safety for pedestrians and provide ADA improvements on the Lake Street corridor, we have the following concerns. run. A greater distance between stops at time and mobility challenges for transit riders with mobility limitations, who may move at half the speed of the average pedestrian, and for whom winter conditions are an even greater barrier to independence and inclusion. We urge Metro Transit and Minneapolis Public Works to remove stops to speed service only as a last resort, after first implementing transit signal priority and removing private vehicle lanes to reduce delays or obstructions from drivers. 2. The Lake Street design still prioritizes cars over people in a major community corridor through RCAP with high transit dependency and along a street that is rising again after 2 years of pandemic struggles and unrest, and despite alternative parallel routes, including I-94, 31st Street, et cetera, being available to those who continue to drive. This choice creates an unpleasant and dangerous environment for those outside of cars, whether walking, using wheelchairs, biking, taking transport, or gathering, as it serves and weakens community connections. In light of this community context, as well as the latest global climate breakdown report calling for the immediate emission reductions at every scale, we urge Public Works to reallocate the public right-of-way space from noxious and unsustainable private vehicles and give it instead to protected bike lanes, bus lanes, and other safe, sustainable, and community-oriented uses.
Second. Hey, Chris,
Yes.
what's our CAP stand for?
That minute pause you heard me take in reading it was me wondering the exact same question.
Racially
ask-
concentrated
so
areas of poverty.
Bluff called, in other words?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you say that
Say
again,
again,
Julie?
Julia?
It's racially concentrated areas of poverty.
Oh, that, okay. Which is true.
And
Rabbits
I have
chewing apples and pears.
I have a quick question too, is I know this was presented by Metro Transit and the Lake Street improvements. We're talking about Public Works. Is Hennepin County involved at all because it's a Hennepin County street? So when we say Public Works in our resolution, are we also meaning Hennepin County? I just want to clarify.
I would assume, yeah, that we need to. I think I added that bit, and that's a good catch. Thank you.
You want to say Public Works and Hennepin County?
Yeah, Chris, could you clarify for us, is Public Works involved in this at all, or is it really just Hennepin County and Metro Transit?
Well, someone from Public Works was there. I don't know if that was Kathleen or if it was Jasna Hadikstanek.
Yeah,
Okay.
Public Works is definitely involved. I would include Public Works.
Okay. And so I would say just the second Public Works maybe needs Hennepin County, because that's where Hennepin County, yeah, right there in Hennepin County. The
Oh,
first
very-
one, it kind of seems like it's where stops are decisions are being made, and I don't know if that Hennepin County is involved in that. I know Metro Transit is.
I think I would probably just put all three of them in each, just because they do kind of go hand in hand. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be like there is one decision maker depending on who owns it. So like the stops or Metro Transit, but it is really a partnership.
The request would take all three, because it would be
Yeah.
opening Lake Street, a county corridor, to primarily serve people, not private vehicles, which would probably shift the private vehicle flows on the adjacent streets, which would be city. And then, of course, Metro Transit figuring out how all that works for their service.
Yeah, and like the city runs the
Cool.
lights, and that sounds good to me.
Yeah. I
Cool,
think
thanks.
all
Okay.
three.
Thanks.
Say, Steve. Steve Mahold, I mean to say.
Is he still here?
Let's hope so. I get some information out of him. Yeah, maybe he left. Abdi's here. Well, I can ask him later. Well, there you are.
Was there a question for Metro?
Yeah, I got a question for you, Steve. So the intention on Lake Street is to remove the 21 bus? Or will it run anyway?
I think that's yet to be determined, and I do not want to speak
Without knowing for sure.
for our BRT folks, but I can check. We can get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'd love to know, just because that's the issue. I mean, for transit, real transit users love the speed, but it's not a great service if you have to walk 4 blocks and you're half crippled and you've got 4 bags of groceries and your kid's crying and you can't walk over the damn snow because the city won't plow it right. And that's just 5 of the reasons why.
Well, I guess I would also say too, if I could, as I recall, there used to be a, I forget what they call it in Metro Transit, but pretty much like an express bus essentially that ran from Lake Street to St. Paul on Lake Street in addition to the 21 and now in addition to this proposed BRT. So I think it would be good to get more information about what Metro Transit proposes to do with the already existing transit lines. I know the express bus has been discontinued since the pandemic. I don't know if it's back yet, but I think it'd be good to know that information as well.
Well, that's right. The 51 line hasn't been running, has it?
One thing they did say when they presented was that the 21 has maintained ridership even throughout the pandemic.
Oh, it sure has.
Very well used. And they did not say for sure that it was to be eliminated, but they said that especially going east, I mean, I think going west, the transit line is designated to the BRT. So I'm not sure about the rest of it, whether they want to continue that or have it be a support to the BRT. That was unclear.
Right.
But I mean, we could also look at university and I think the 16 for kind of what has happened in the past. So that was light rail instead. But what they talk about doing is kind of determined. It isn't necessarily what will happen based on how ridership goes and balancing the overall system, it seems like, especially when there's, funding shortages and driver shortages.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, of course that enters into it. And they're still short drivers.
They sure are.
Express route you were mentioning, Austin, was Route 53. It has been expanded, as has Route 16 on University. But I will bring these concerns to our arterial BRT folks and have someone get back to the PAC.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Just to echo what Neil was saying, I've seen people take the bus just to avoid certain icy patches, like a 3-block stretch of a hill. I've seen people getting on and also eavesdropped. So it's those teeny rides, I think, are serving weird functions that a lot of our conversations might not account for. And I don't know what % we're at, but it seems to be for particularly transit dependent people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we have-
if I can just say that, I mean, until this conversation, I just assumed that an express is always in addition to a local, never replaces a local, because you still have local needs. So, it's a good point to raise,
Well, and changing the stops from 1 to 2 blocks to 3 to 4 blocks, that's a big change for people that ride that bus all the time.
Right.
I think what's come up in a couple of different conversations around similar things where the BRT is being added is that our system tendency right now is to say, okay, we will eliminate stops instead of, okay, we will eliminate, structural barriers like drivers, signal priority. And so it keeps putting it back. The burden is borne by the people who can least, who are already, spending more time getting places and who are more isolated from all the other barriers of prioritizing cars over people.
Yep.
Do we have anything we want to add to this resolution about that, or are we happy with the resolution as it is?
Well, do we need more information about this project? It sounds like we have some questions about signal prioritization, eliminating old routes that are being replaced by BRT, or the intent to do that, and prioritizing those who are truly transit dependent. I mean, if we have questions like that, I guess we could ask, hey, could you come back and explain our answers to our questions?
I thought those were mainly touched on, aside from perhaps signal priority, which seems to be operational and generally is at a later stage. So I think we could pass the resolution and Steve will be checking on things, but I don't think these are things we're getting answered. I think it's the resolution's more about raising the which is our broad societal or citywide county organization priorities.
Yeah, I agree, Julia. And we can always do an addendum resolution if something changes and it's we have concerns or statements about it.
Great. So it's been moved and seconded. Are we ready to do a vote on this as edited?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. Abigail,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Harmony,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Neil.
Hey.
Wonderful. That is 8 yeses.
Yay.
Awesome. Thanks. And thanks for answering a few questions, Steve. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next as this project moves forward. Barb and Chris, is that everything for I&E?
Yeah.
It is.
Wonderful. Oh, Steve, your hand is up. Did that just go up or did I just not see it?
No, I just put it up. Millicent, could you send me a copy of the resolution? Which I'll, make sure our folks get.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks. So the next up is programs and policies. Julia or Peter?
Hey, I will kind of go over all of our stuff a little briefly, and then we have one resolution that was not ready in time for inclusion, and I don't know where we want to put that. But we, our meeting last month, we had a report back from the 88 transition plan from Amy, kind of letting us know what was being tracked, what's being observed, some of the things that are being worked on, like the curb ramps, the planned review of the winter maintenance study, the upgrades to traffic signals, and we had a little bit of conversation around all of that. We also, that was something that we didn't end up with a resolution for. We also discussed potentially meeting up with council members and how we might want to do that. Peter's got a sign up sheet that we can volunteer on, and there was a little bit of discussion about whether we'd partner with bicycle advisory committee members who are assigned by ward, unlike PAC members who are all at large. There's also possibility of meeting, having more than one of us meet together if it's something that somebody's a little nervous about doing on their own or just would prefer to do with other PAC members or maybe BAC members. And so we'll return to that conversation. Chris gave us an update on the application process for the next cohort of PAC members, and we brainstormed a little around how to start doing outreach. The applications will be open this month, and we'll be talking a bit more about that at the next PNP meeting. So keep that kind of bubbling in your head for individuals or groups or places or different ways to continue recruiting members, especially people with experiences that aren't represented right now on the PAC, or bring your brainstorming about how we can improve what we do within the PAC to make it more accessible, more welcoming, anything else as well. And we closed out the PNP meeting talking about winter maintenance, because it's a good way to keep warm when you get angry like that in Minnesota. I had an overly long slideshow that Millicent was kind enough to go through at a really great pace, Millicent. I don't know if I had a chance to say that, at least for me. I don't know for others, but it was like, it felt like a skill I didn't know was there until it just felt like it was the right pacing. So it was a little bit of just going through, looking at kinds of patterns of conditions and discussing what we've seen, what the problems are, how long it's been since the winter maintenance study, which was 2018, and then deciding that we wanted to do a resolution around that towards city council members, asking them to, I forget what the word is, like tell Public Works to come talk to us about this stuff, because we've been doing fairly regular requests to get updates or to have conversation on this. And it's definitely something we're talking about regardless, and we have expertise on. So that'll be the resolution that I read. And I shared the slideshow deck with all PAC members, and I'm just realizing that it didn't attach to the last agenda. And I didn't check to see if I thought it attached to this agenda, but I didn't click to see if it did. So if it's something that you didn't receive but want to let me know. We didn't use the text on it. That it was just from a different thing I'd done. We were really just for thinking about what we face winter after winter after winter.
It deserves an Academy Award. It deserves an Academy Award.
That feels like really high praise coming from you, Neil. Thank you.
Well, thank you. But I
or is it all of our walking? Like, we as people dealing with Minnesota all deserve Academy Awards.
Yeah, well, we sure do. Yeah, we deserve a lot more than that, even.
Oh gosh, yeah, I have some more photos from. Yep. So that's my overview. Are there any questions about any of those portions, or if not, I don't know how we feel about me jumping into the winter resolution right now versus later, since it didn't end up in the agenda for today.
Yes, and right now, Julia, it is on the screen for people who are using
okay,
their computers.
Perfect. I'm going to pull it up in my email just so I can be looking at it a little closer. So here's the resolution. It's a long one, and I apologize for that, but this is about as short as I've written for anything to do with winter in Minneapolis. In May 2018, Public Works presented the winter maintenance study to the City Council's TPW committee. At that time, the PAC was hopeful that the report, though limited in scope depth, would mark the beginning of an effort to address year-round accessibility to our transportation network for all residents. In the intervening 4 years, the PAC has requested winter maintenance updates from Public Works on a roughly quarterly basis. We've repeatedly invited Public Works to engage on winter maintenance with us in our role as their primary relevant advisory board, representing the perspectives and expertise of impacted communities. With the exception of one report out by a departing staff member to the PAC, our requests have gone unfulfilled. Where in 2018, we were hopeful that attention to and conversation about winter maintenance would become the norm in our interactions with Public Works, we have instead found that we must still remain vigilant in pressing for the inclusion or even an acknowledgement of winter as a condition. The city has continued to display chronic apathy until pushed by the PAC, even in major policy work like the Transportation Action Plan and the updated ADA Transition Plan. The few changes in winter maintenance practices that we have seen, namely reminder letters sent to property owners from the city, a streamlined 311 LIMS process, and the training of additional staff to serve as inspectors, have happened entirely without consultation with the PAC in its expert advisory capacity, and in some cases, without being shared with the PAC, even as a response to our regular requests. With climate breakdown rapidly intensifying, along with international conflicts spurring the urgency of shifting to transportation modes free from dependence on fossil fuels and lithium stores, and with many new city council members holding office, We again plead for renewed attention to and conversation around winter maintenance. As the sidewalk street conditions of early March 2022 show, few sidewalk routes, including those shoveled beautifully after each snowfall, remain accessible through these increasingly frequent cycles of freeze, thaw, and precipitation. We are aware of and strongly support a growing conversation in Minneapolis around the responsibilities of the municipality to ensure that people can get around the city in winter, whether walking or using wheelchairs. As this conversation continues to gain energy within our communities, we ask our elected officials to direct Public Works to meet with the PAC on the following fundamental concerns we have regarding winter conditions vis-a-vis the city's current plans, processes, and policies. 1, regulations requiring the drainage of impervious surfaces on private properties to pass across sidewalks before entering the storm drain system. 2, Public Works engineering of sidewalks, including slope and grade. 3, Public Works co-location of storm drains and curb ramps. 4, Public Works maintenance practices in the plowing of streets and alleys that create create impassable windrows, and B, push or spray chunks of snow across already cleared sidewalks on streets with no boulevard. We are eager for a dialogue with Public Works staff that includes topics completely absent from the 2018 study. Specifically, the winter maintenance study focused almost exclusively on individual property owner sidewalk clearing compliance and the projected feasibility of municipal clearance. The study ignored both the multiple ways in which the city itself, through engineering regulations and implementation, not only fails to ensure sidewalks clear of ice and snow, but actually significantly worsens and even creates dangerous conditions. We request that you, as City Council members, direct Public Works to engage with and include the PAC on both short and long-term efforts to plan, provide, and maintain passable winter conditions for those walking using wheelchairs.
Second.
Julia, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So in the text that you sent, when you read it, you had 4 numbered points, but in the text, in the email, it's got a list of 18 numbers with just like every third or fifth one. So if you want me to get rid of all those extra numbers, I can.
Yeah, I don't know. That's so odd because I pulled up the email as sent to you and it's not giving those numbers. So I don't know where the systems are not communicating clearly. Sorry about that.
Well, that's fine.
That's fascinating. I could also screenshot and send you how it shows up for me. No,
this is good.
And I think, Millicent, number 2, if you go to the beginning of number 2 and then you should be able to delete. Well, no, because that's the rest of the sentence for number 1. So actually, yeah, sorry.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
So make that all just one number. There we go. And then number 4, 5 is all 1 as well.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
That should be correct.
That's it.
Yep.
And also, Julia, number 4 has a period at the end, and numbers 1, 2, and 3 do not. But I'm not sure. I think we just don't need a period. Yeah. Okay. So no periods. I think because they're not all full sentences. So. And we'll spell out winter maintenance study. Anyone else have any edits or thoughts?
I think it needs to be longer.
I could send what I sent to Lisa Tierney before she went to Hennepin County.
Okay, great.
After.
Yeah, she's still passing that around all that. That was a major volume.
She's still burning it for warmth in the winter.
Throws her shoulder out of whack when she puts it in her purse. Anyway, Millicent, can you send me a copy of that?
I will.
Please.
I will.
And I'll see what the heck the changes were when I get to it.
Yeah, anyone else? Thoughts? Questions?
Well, covers the ground. So what was the change? It was, it doesn't matter. I'll get it anyway.
Little ones, yeah.
And that first of all,
the winter maintenance study.
Oh, that's right. All the way. Yeah.
And then I spelled out the first pedestrian advisory committee.
I think I'll spell out the committee too. Just because that's what I do. Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
All right. last call for thoughts or edits. Okay, Julia, are you ready to take this to a vote?
Sure.
Great. All
Okay,
right, Millicent, thanks.
Abigail,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Christopher Hoffer,
Yes.
Harmony,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Neil.
Aye.
Okay, we have 8 yeses.
Yay.
All right. Julia, anything else to add from the programs and policies report?
I am completely blanking on if I gave the context of where we were aiming this towards city council members, in part to draw their attention to it while it's still first winter for many of them, while snow is still on the ground, and because going via public works hasn't worked. So we talked about the strategy around it a little bit during the meeting as well. So just to add that piece, if I didn't already say it. And any other questions? Otherwise, I think I'm done with my update.
Yeah, and I'll note too, it'll be on next month's or this coming month's programs and policies. So the next meeting for PMP, I'm just going to give any updates about when the chair of the Bicycle Advisory Committee and I will be presenting to the TPW Committee of City Council. And in that, I think we'll cover a lot of ground around winter. I think last year, I know it was a very different city council. We presented a lot on design decisions and how they still prioritize cars, even though they seemingly make walking and biking feel safer. But maybe this year it'll go, beyond that. We need to think about the functionalities of winter, especially if we can kind of invigorate a new council in that way. So that's something coming up on PMP, and hopefully also have dates on like when that'll happen and when you guys will see the draft presentation so that you can give notes on it and stuff. So if you can attend PMP, I highly suggest it. And another thing that will happen at this coming month's PMP is they'll discuss. We don't have any dates or knowledge about returning to in-person meetings, but we put on the PMP agenda an opportunity to discuss the option for that because it looks like it might happen soon with city decisions. So if you have any thoughts about that, concerns, questions, or excitement or whatever it is, and you just want to make sure your voice is heard on that, just come to the PMP because that'll be on the docket as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a shout out to coming PMP meeting. And with that, that's both of our reports. And so now I'll open it up for announcements or anything that anybody wants to add or tell everyone.
Julie must have something.
Julie left Neil.
No
I think.
way. I bet she did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
she did.
I think so.
Yeah, it doesn't look like she's here.
So I know that we've talked about the IPCC in PAC meetings, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and those reports. And the next section of the report that I presented on last year has come out. And if I haven't gone into it yet, but I'm I'd like to bring it back to PMP after that. And I'm curious if there's anybody else who is planning to or might want to kind of be part of diving into that with me. If not, no worries, but I thought I'd throw it out there. The more the merrier when it comes to reading about terrible things, I guess.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, if anybody wants, you know how to reach Julia, I believe. Anyone else? You can raise your hand or just shout out at this point. All right. As it is with member applications too, just a quick note, Chris said he was going to send emails if anybody needs to reapply. So just remember, you know, you cycle on and off. So every if you
It froze up.
that's always a question that can be covered. Public Works staff is always willing to help. Abdi, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you. Hey guys, my name is Abdi Newman. I'm a teacher for the blind, and I actually attended one of your committee meetings, I think back in December.
Yeah.
And I had spoken about possibly getting some help with thinking up some ways of helping out blind pedestrians in the Twin Cities. And I did exchange some emails with Matthew Deardle, I think. So I just wanted to see, actually like attend a few more meetings and then just see if we had any updates on those emails I had sent. And I think the last email I sent to Matthew did not go through. So again, just wanted to get back in touch with you guys and hopefully see if I can get another contact or get any updates on that front.
I'll jump in first. Abdi, thanks for coming back. This is Chris Kartheiser, and Matthew left the city. He was formerly the lead staff on this committee and my supervisor, and left recently. So you can take down my contact, which I don't know if you can see my name, but it's Chris, CHRIS .Kartheiser at minneapolismn.gov. I can repeat that if needed, but you can also find it on the website. You want me to say it again?
Yeah, can you spell me your last name, please?
Yeah, it's KARTHEISER, and then it'll be the same at minneapolismn.gov as Matthews was. So yeah, feel free. Sorry for the loss of contact there with him leaving, but feel free to reach out to me.
No, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Any last announcements? Okay. Then we can adjourn this month's meeting.
I move to adjourn.
All right.
All right.
Be safe, everybody.